I need to get on here and bitch to you all about Dark Phoenix. I need to bitch. I need to rant. I need to rant. I know I'm coming late to the party. I know everybody's already torn this fucking movie to pieces. But I need to talk. But I didn't see it, and it was like it was weird. It was like everybody said it was bad, and I heard it was bad, and was like ooh, and it was like really, and I was like really, is it that bad? And it was like it can't be that bad. It was probably I didn't expect it to be good, but I didn't I thought like typically a lot of times when people say a movie's bad, is I usually find something. I find something that I liked about it. And it's really bad. It's really bad. And I need to articulate my thoughts and feelings about this. Because okay, all right. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen because I've seen a lot of bad movies. And for my money, I mean, personally, subjectively, I feel like the worst movies in the world are the live-action Resident Evil movies because I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, and when I want to see a Resident Evil movie, I want to see Leon and Jill and Claire and Chris running around shooting zombies. I don't want to see Mila Jovovich, and her husband director showing me how awesome she is. That's not what I'm there for. So those personally are like probably my personal hate, But there's a lot of good competition for worst. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, and the year is young. My money, my prediction, and you'll all have to tell me because I ain't gonna watch it. I have a feeling that like Rise of Skywalker is gonna be worse. I mean, it just, I have not forgotten, and keep the fight going. Keep the fight going. You are the new rebellion, folks. Fandom menace forever. But it's like it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And I went on Rotten Tomatoes afterward because I just kind of had to I'd already checked Rotten Tomatoes before, and I was like, ooh, I heard it was bad. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I'm sorry, I don't know where to begin. Guys. It's like I'm just trying to find a place to start. I love the X-Men. For all 5 of you who actually watch my role-playing content. Metal Chronicles. My character for Metal Chronicles, the animal, he's a Wolverine fill-in. He's Wolverine if Wolverine were a barbarian in Dungeons & Dragons. That's it. That's what he is. Because I'm a giant Wolverine fan. I'm a giant X-Men fan. I love the X-Men. They're my favorite superhero team of all time. I remember back in the 90s when no one gave a shit about the Avengers, and the X-Men were the shit. And now it's like it's reversed. It's like, again, go Avengers. Avengers rock. And other Josh would point out the Avengers were always awesome, and he's right. And he's like, yeah, fuck you, Avengers. He was always an Avengers guy first, and as he should be. And he will watch this video. I'm sending it directly to you, you son of a bitch. You're gonna... Oh, you have to watch it too now. You have to watch it too now so we can complain together. Yes, you do. Anyway, I did not pay for this movie. I went and bought a ticket for Endgame again. I didn't. No. I didn't. No. Not paying. No. Don't. Let's talk about the X-Men movies. As a fan of the comics, as a fan of the franchise, I feel like, okay, the comics are the best, and always will be the best, which is fair to say. I'm one of those assholes, the book is better than the movie. It's true, it often is. But then you have certain things like the X-Men animated series, which is hands down probably one of the greatest cartoon shows of all time, and I think that holds up. There's been numerous other adaptations of X-Men that are very good, cartoon-wise. Wolverine and the X-Men, X-Men Evolution. There's like Hulk Versus is a really good animated movie, which is great. Where Hulk versus Wolverine. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies, and it's not even in the MCU. It's great. And the X-Men movies really kind of got the ball rolling for comic book movies. There was Blade before them, which is awesome. I think most people are in agreement. Blade 1 and 2 are awesome. And even Blade 3. Blade 3 is bad, but it's still fun for what it is. And the X-Men movies really kind of got the ball rolling. And what's been very frustrating as a person who's a fan of the original X-Men movies and a fan of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, it's been very frustrating for years waiting for Disney to buy 20th Century Fox so I can get my X-Men back, and to get for all these characters to come home. And so that's why when Spider-Man showed up in Captain America: Civil War, it was such a huge coup to have Spider-Man back in the MCU. We don't have the Fantastic Four have never had a good movie, which is unfortunate because they deserve one. They are excellent characters and deserve a good movie. And the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and Deadpool have always been separated, and they really do belong. The MCU is so good, and a lot of and I personally feel that the X-Men movies at their best are so good they belong in the MCU at their best. The problem is that if you compare the X-Men series to the MCU, there is no comparison. The MCU is better, and it's interesting because I think at the core is at the end of the day, the MCU is more true to the comics than the X-Men movies are, and I would argue that problem and standard was set by Bryan Singer. Bryan Singer, I think, did an excellent job with X-Men 1 and X-Men 2. X-Men 2 is hands down probably the best movie in the franchise with the exception of Logan. But if you look at that movie carefully, they don't do things accurately to the comics, and it's detrimental. And I'm like, I know what you're going to say. Oh, you don't know what to be accurate to the comics. Okay, but here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. Part of the reason why the MCU works is because it's true to the comics. For the most part. They do change things. They do deviate, but they're true to the spirit of the comics. And that's what makes them work. That's what makes them work. Star-Lord's dad is not Ego the Living Planet. But he was a massive dickhead and an alien king, and that conflict and that tension is carried through into the movie. And it works. And it works very, very well. I like to point always to the first Avengers movie. I like to point to that movie to non-comic book fans and say, this is why I like comic books. This is what comics are all about. These are the characters. These are the Avengers. This is who they are. This is their world. This is what reading a comic is like. You could have other comics that are more deep, that are more introspective or whatnot, but at the end of the day, that is what comics are about. And that's what makes them great. And you could go to Guardians of the Galaxy and this is what the Marvel universe is. The crazy Marvel bullshit space stuff is like. And it's very accurate to that. And that's part of what makes it work. The moral of the story is just go balls deep. Just make it like it is in the comics. If you start thinking about changing things, you're probably fucking up. You're probably fucking up. Because where did they fuck up? Iron Man 3. That's not the Mandarin. Oh, but we can't have the Mandarin. We can't have the Mandarin because he's a Chinese stereotype. We can't have that, even though he's a top tier Marvel villain and still is one of Iron Man's greatest villains. Yes, he's a Chinese man. Yes, he was made during the Cold War where we weren't really 100% cool with China. We're still not 100% cool with China. Whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. His race is incidental. At the end of the day, he bases himself off of, he calls himself the Mandarin because he bases himself off of ancient Chinese royalty and Chinese advisors, and he basically, that's his style and the way he dresses, and what makes him cool is he has a bunch of alien rings that give him crazy superpowers. And they come from alien space dragons, and that's fucking awesome, and that's what we should have gotten, and instead we get Tony Slattery. We get Tony Slattery, and we get, ole. We get that, and we get Guy Pearce breathing fire. And then we get Gwyneth Paltrow in yoga pants, which is one of the least problematic things about that movie. For the record, I like Iron Man 3, but I think it's one of the weaker MCU entries. Because of that continuity decision. So much so they had to change it. If you watch the Marvel shorts, they changed it. There's a real Mandarin out there who we may never see now because, Iron Man's dead. But, who knows? Why am I talking about this? Why am I doing this? Because, even all the way back in X-Men 2, you remember that scene? Remember that awesome fucking scene? Where Magneto escapes the plastic prison, and, Mystique injects the security guard with the iron, And Magneto's like, oh, you have a little too much iron in your blood. And he rips it out of his body and makes little orbs and smashes through the plastic prison. And he takes one piece and he expands it and he floats across and escapes the prison. Isn't that a fucking cool scene? It is. I love that scene. But have you ever listened to the commentary track for that? You should. Because why does that scene exist? The scene exists is because Bryan Singer says in the commentary track, look, well, in the comics, Magneto just flies. And I've always had a problem with someone just kind of flying. So I thought there should be a reason for why he flies. So we created the scene where he creates a little disc and he floats across. And that's what we're going to do. And, yeah. And as a result, it's a really cool scene. I keep bumping my table, I'm sorry. It's a really cool scene. It's a really effective, awesome scene. But here's the thing, Brian. You know who wants to see Magneto just fly and use force fields and use electromagnetic energy and manipulate the electromagnetic spectrum and do things like magnetic shockwave like he does in the goddamn video games and in the comics? You know who wants to fucking see that? The fans and the audience. And proof in the pudding is the Avengers. The Avengers are the comics as they are. No bullshit. Just do it like the comics. And sure enough, what happens 20 years later when we get X-Men Apocalypse? We got Quicksilver hitting something. It's like, I can't get Magneto through Magneto's force field. Force field. Took you long enough. Okay, and again, X-Men 2 is an excellently crafted movie. It is an excellently crafted movie, but everything deviates from the comics in that movie. It's a great example. Stryker was not a G-Man. Stryker had nothing to do with the government, nor he definitely didn't have anything to do with the Weapon X program. Stryker was a crazy priest who thought mutants were an abomination in the sight of God. And he somehow got his hands on mechs because it's the Marvel Universe and whatever, and he started killing mutants. And that's the point of God Love Man Kills. That's the entire point of that storyline. Mastermind definitely wasn't his son, and he definitely wasn't lobotomized or in a wheelchair. And, of course, Lady Deathstrike. Lady Deathstrike's great in that movie. Kelly Hughes does an excellent job as Lady Deathstrike in that movie. But Lady Deathstrike is not a mutant. She is not part of the Weapon X program at all. She is a cyborg. She is a cyborg. Her cybernetic implants actually came from Spiral of the Mojoverse, of all things. And her entire motivation is she wants to kill Wolverine because her father worked on the adamantium boning process and he wound up dying. And she believes that he stole he stole it. She blames him for his death and believes he's spitting on her legacy. She's a little bit racist too, because it's she calls him Gaijin because he's a white guy from Canada, and it's and she wants him dead for that. It's yeah, at the end of the day, bitch be crazy, but that's Lady Deathstrike. And as good as X-Men 2 is, part of me has always wanted her to be a cyborg, like she is in the comics. What happens years later when we get Logan, the new crown king of best X-Men movie? We get the fucking Reavers. Cyborgs. As they are supposed to be in the comics. And of all fucking villains, Donald fucking Pierce. The most obscure X-Men villain you could possibly pick. I'm not complaining. He's awesome. And it's great. But it's like at some point, someone said, fuck it. Let's just do it the way it's supposed to be done. And look at that. That's one of the best movies in the entire franchise. That is the best movie in the entire franchise. And it just, but from day one, even with Singer, you could say, well, all you want about Brett Ratner, and I will. Fuck that guy. I've got a little bit, I know somebody who's worked in Hollywood, and they've worked behind the set, and they've interacted with Brett Ratner. Brett Ratner doesn't fucking do anything. Brett Ratner, all of Brett Ratner's work on his movies is done by his production assistants. His production assistants do everything, they make all the decisions, he just takes the credit for it. So, yeah, fuck Brett Ratner. I got nothing nice to say about Brett Ratner. The things I like about X-Men 3 probably were not his call. But from day one, they've always deviated. And it's hurt them. And then there's the timeline. And the buttfuckery that is that. That said, up until now, I can say I genuinely like and enjoy every single X-Men movie. I consider them all, including the worst of the series, good movies. They're good because, for my subjective experience, they're good. Now, I'm not going to defend X-Men Origins Wolverine, or Apocalypse, or X-Men 3 The Last Stand at any particular length, because, yes, they are objectively flawed films. There are plenty of mistakes across the board, but they still do enough right and enough enjoyable stuff that, yeah, I still enjoy them all the way up until this point. Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 I had plenty of problems with, but I enjoyed it. But especially, it's like, I don't know what happened. It's like okay, X-Men Origins Wolverine was bad, and X-Men 3 was disappointing. So they made Days of Future Past, which is an excellent movie, to fix the timeline. And from at that point in time, the timeline has been utterly butt-fucked. And we don't know what the continuity is anymore. We don't. Where does Deadpool stand in this? Deadpool went back in time in Deadpool 2. What did he make things work? I don't know. And as a result, the X-Men movies are very, very frustrating. And I'm going to echo what other Josh said. He wants it done. He wants it done. He wants these movies to fail just so we can be done with it, done with this continuity, and we can start fresh. And I think at the end of the day, it's what's going to have to happen with X-Men. It's like, yeah, like, part of me wants Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, as an Avenger, in the Avengers we know and love. Part of me wants that. Part of me wants, like, Patrick Stewart to come out of retirement. You're already coming back as Picard anyway, motherfucker. Get over here and get in that wheelchair and play Xavier one more time. You know, and be part of the MCU. Because when they're good, like, seriously, like, at their worst film, X-Men Origins Wolverine, you know what? I love Lev Schreiber as Sabretooth. I fucking love Lev Schreiber as Sabretooth. He's freaking awesome in that. He actually, look, don't get me wrong, the original Sabretooth, Tyler Mane is great as Sabretooth. He's awesome. He's fucking badass. But one thing, and he's just kind of menacing and raw, but what I like about Lev Schreiber is Lev Schreiber talks. Lev Schreiber's sadistic. Lev Schreiber, like, you know, fucks with you a little psychologically and fights you. I love his Sabretooth. I love the fights in that movie. I love them teaming up against Barakapool. Less said about Barakapool, the better, but I like that fight. Gambit's in the movie. He doesn't have a consistent accent, but he's in the movie. I like seeing Blob, too. There's things in that movie that are good and enjoyable. And you could say that about pretty much all of them. This is the first one where I had to freaking count. I wrote down a list. 4 things. 4 things that I actually liked about this movie. I can count them on my hand. And I'm going to go through them right now that is good about this movie. This movie is so fucking bad. There are 4 fucking things. 4 fucking things. 1. Dazzler makes a cameo in the movie. You have to wait 30 minutes. And she doesn't do anything. She's just there and she's singing and using her powers to light things up. But she's in it, and it's cool to see Dazzler. That's it. And that's fan service. So there's that. 2, Mystique. Oh, by the way, spoiler alerts going. It's fucking Dark Phoenix. Who gives a... Do you give a shit? Do you give a shit if I spoil Dark Phoenix? Guess what? I'm spoiling it. As of now. Your last chance to to click off the video. Okay, spoilers going forward. Second good thing about the movie. Mystique fucking dies. I'll get into why that made me happy in a minute. Third, there are some genuinely good moments of acting and genuinely good scenes of characters interacting with each other, which I just, again, I feel like anytime you get, like, Mr. Hutt, I'm forgetting his first name, the guy that plays Beast, and you get James McAbee and Michael Fassbender, when you get these 3 men in a room and you have them interact with each other, they're beautiful. I think a lot of the acting, a lot of the cast got a really good chance to act in this movie. Not all the way across the board, especially some of the newcomers. I'll get into that in a minute. But, like, yeah, even, like, Nightcrawler and Storm didn't have much to do, but they have a couple good scenes. A couple really good scenes of acting, which is really good. And finally, there's a fight on the train at the end. The fight on the train, I think, is actually really good. It's actually a really good fight, and really entertaining. You got the mutants using some kick-ass powers, our bad guys are doing interesting things. It's not worth the movie to get there. So this is gonna be my attempt at a semi-Mauler... long man bad, long form rant on this movie. I'm going to try to go through each single point in this movie that I can remember and tell you about it and why it drives me crazy. Okay, so let's deal with the elephant in the room. This movie doesn't need to exist. The X-Men have already been bought back by Disney. There's no reason. Like yada yada yada. Yeah, I agree. And seriously, yeah, the true ending of the X-Men film series should be Logan. Or I would even venture so far to say as Deadpool 2. Because I really like Deadpool 2. I've got problems with Deadpool 2, but I really like Deadpool 2. And it does feel like Deadpool 2 was the last good film they made. And then it's like it's all downhill from here. I think New Mutants still might come out. We'll see. But this is like... This movie is legitimately dog shit. And I wasn't initially angry. It was a train wreck and I couldn't look away. I think I got there. I got angry. The more I thought about it. But yeah, those are 4 things. The only 4 things that are worth a shit about this damn movie. But let's go through it. Okay, so we start off with little baby Jean Grey in the 1970s, driving around with her parents. And she starts having trouble controlling her powers. And her parents are playing some god awful country song on their damn like radio, and she doesn't want to hear it. So she starts whether she's consciously doing it or unconsciously doing it. She starts changing the channel. She changes it to Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon, and it's like fuck yeah, Warren Zevon, Werewolves of London, yeah, fuck yeah, woo! Well, of course you would. And may I say before we go forward, the parents deserved everything they got in this movie for playing that shitty song in the first place. It's like, yeah, the kid was right. You should have put on Werewolves of London. Anyway, she starts freaking out and starts like changing the channel constantly, and she's like, stop it! And she winds up causing a big telekinetic shockwave, and she winds up getting in a car accident, and her mom dies, and she thinks for much of the movie that her dad's dead. Okay, I have numerous problems with this. One, again, with the cobbled timeline, we've done this already. We've done this already. We did this in X-Men 3. Look, I know that Wolverine and Deadpool have gone back in time and changed things. You mean to tell me that Wolverine stopping, like, Mystique from murdering Bolivar Trask in the 60s and that coupled with Deadpool shooting Ryan Reynolds in the face before he can be part of Green Lantern, are you telling me that has completely altered the timeline in such a way that now Jean's parents are dead? But we already did the scene. We already did the scene in X-Men 3 with the de-aged Xavier and Ian McKellen talking to her as a child. We already did the scene. We don't need to see it again. It's completely redone. Now she's wound up causing this accident that's killed her parents or one of her parents, and Xavier takes her in. And it's dumb. This is like, you know how people complain about like the origin stories? We have too many origin stories. We've done Spider-Man's origin too many times. One of my complaints about Man of Steel is everybody and their mother knows Superman's origin story. I've talked to people from Saudi Arabia who know Superman's origin story. There are dead people. There are dead people that know Superman's origin story. There is no reason to tell people what Superman's origin. Just have Superman doing his thing at the start of your fucking movie. I need a drink. Caffeine. We don't need the scene again. We don't need this again, and it confuses things further because the timeline's already a mess. Second of all, okay, there's no reason to kill off Jean's parents. There's none. In regular continuity, they're still alive. In fact, if I recall, they were at the funeral for her when the first Dark Phoenix storyline happened and she killed herself with the laser gun. If I believe they're still alive. Jean Grey's parents have outlived Jean Grey multiple times. Because Jean Grey has died as the Phoenix, come back, become the Phoenix again, died again, and come back again as the Phoenix multiple times, and they're just there. It's part of the joke of Marvel is that there's a revolving door on their afterlife. But her parents have outlived her multiple times. Not only that, like, this movie establishes that Jean Grey murdered her mom, or, committed manslaughter against her mom, which I don't like, and is needlessly dark and needlessly unpleasant, especially for a child character. You can do this, and X-Men has dealt with this before. Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men deals with a little girl whose mutant powers is her dreams come to life. Her dreams come real, and so she had a nightmare, and this monster from her nightmares murdered her parents. She had no control over it. But it happened. X-Men has gone there and gone to that dark place before. I don't feel like you should do that with Jean. I don't feel like you should do this with a well-established character. And it's just really not necessary. It's not necessary that she killed her mom. It's not necessary that, like, her dad hates her now, which he does, which we find out later in the movie. It doesn't, like, she has a good, like, let Jean have a good relationship with her parents. That's something she's always had. There's no reason to do that. Okay, so then, like, the movie proper starts. It's the 1990s. Everybody and their mother's already complained about this. I'm going to complain about it again. They keep doing this stupid 10-year time jumping thing that they've been doing with all these movies. Where it started in the 50s, it started in the 60s, and then in the 70s, and they look the same age, and it's distracting, and it's annoying, and it's like shouldn't you look like Ian McKellen now? Shouldn't you look like freaking like Patrick Stewart by now? What the fuck? It's really stupid. And it's really problematic in this movie because we never see from First Class forward, we never see the X-Men on a day-to-day basis. We never have a movie that happened like a couple years after a previous First Class installment. So we don't really know what they've been doing since then. In Days of Future Past, we jump to Xavier, depressed and basically a heroin addict, living with just Beast and not wanting to do anything, which was fine for that movie. But then in Apocalypse, it's like now they're starting up the team for the first time, and it's like they keep jumping over and over again. It keeps on giving us like time whiplash. And it's particularly problematic here because in this movie, everybody loves the X-Men. Everybody. There's no mutant hate. People love the X-Men. There's after the space mission, there's a kid with blue face paint on like Nightcrawler. There's a little girl with a Mystique action figure. Like, what the fuck? It's like, they're supposed to fight, they're supposed to be protecting a world that fears and hates them. That's the entire mission statement of the X-Men. That's what they're supposed to be doing. And people just love them? I'm not saying the X-Men don't deserve credit and don't deserve, respect, but, you gotta build that, and we haven't seen that. Apparently, they've been running around doing adventures, which we've never seen, and we've never had any context for. And Xavier's got the president on his a direct line to the president, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that progression. We haven't seen the dream. If this is true, then that means the dream is realized. That means that that Xavier's actually achieving what his goal is for peace between humans and mutants. So it's like there shouldn't be any freaking problems anymore. Okay, so then there's a problem in outer space. So they got to go up to space and rescue a bunch of astronauts. This is a complaint that Other Josh brought to my attention when I talked to him about it. That they're just copying things from the original Dark Phoenix saga just for the sake of doing it. Oh, it takes place in space, so we need to go in space. And she got she was on a space shuttle, so she needs to get the Phoenix Force on space. It's oh, and there was aliens in the first story, so we need aliens in this thing. Oh, we'll get to the fucking aliens. Other Josh was bitching about the aliens. Oh, I got something else to say about those fucking aliens. Really frustrating. So they gotta go up to space. We don't know if they've been... Apparently they've never done missions in space before. Apparently they have been doing missions. They have been adventuring and doing stuff that we never fucking see and have no context for. But they've never been into space before. They've literally never been in space before. But Beast did a bunch of redesigns on the Blackbird, so it can now go into space. But he's not confident we can do that. Oh, we got to go into space. And then the president calls up Xavier's you need to go in space. And excuse me. Ugh, belching, angry belching. I'm sorry. He calls them the X-Men for help. So which did it was distracting to me too because I was thinking okay, in the regular Marvel universe, how would this roll? 60s through 80s, would the president call the X-Men? No, because the X-Men were always on the edge. They were always, not accepted. They wouldn't be the guy they call. I could see the president calling the Avengers. I could see the president calling the Fantastic Four, because that's Reed's specialty. And maybe, in the 80s, when the X-Men are being more accepted, the third person they would call would best be the X-Men. Or if the X-Men were in the area, if the X-Men knew about it, oh my god, a bunch of astronauts are going to die. We've got to get up there. I can see the X-Men going up there while the Avengers and the Fantastic Four are already almost there. And it's just oh, we need help with this. Hey, Bub, Cap, it's me, Wolverine. I got your back. Oh, good, thank God the X-Men are here. Now, basically, those astronauts are as good as saved. You got the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men helping you out. You're good to go. I can totally see that. Nowadays, you got the Sword. You've got Sword, which is the Men in Black equivalent of name drop. Something else is coming out. The Men in Black equivalent of S.H.I.E.L.D. that's up there. They've got a spaceship up there. I think that they would be the first responders. They'd be excuse me, NASA. We noticed you're having a little problem with your ship right there. We're here at the Sword Station. You guys need any help? And if they needed help, they'd probably call Fury. They'd probably call Nick Fury from S.H.I.E.L.D. And Fury would call the Avengers, and Fury and he would call the Avengers, he would call the Fantastic Four, and his third person on his list would probably be Xavier. What if typical comic book thing, the Avengers aren't here, the Avengers are they're in the Skrull homeworld doing something. Where's the Fantastic Four? Oh, the Fantastic Four is in Atlantis with Namor. We can't get a hold of him. And I would think Agent Brand, who's the head of Sword, if at least she was last time I was reading. she would call up Hank because she's got a thing for she and Hank have a relationship. So it's like, Hank, I need your help. There's some astronauts that need some help. We need the X-Men. Or Fury. Like the government wouldn't really condone this, but Nick Fury knows the X-Men are good people, so he's like, hey, Xavier, listen, I know the government thinks that you're criminals and they're hunting you down, but I know better. I know you're good. I need the X-Men. This is your chance, Chuck. This is your chance for Charles Xavier to come out and prove the world that what good things mutants can do. That's how I would write that story. But yeah, over time they've become more accepted. But still, they're like the third person you call. They're the third person you'd call for something like this. But whatever. So I'm getting hung up on that. So they go up there to rescue these people. There's no spacesuits. There's no spacesuits. They don't have spacesuits at all. You would think like he's been retrofitting this thing to do space missions, or if they needed to do it, but they don't have EVA suits. They don't have any spacesuits whatsoever. And I'm gonna complain about this. I'm gonna fucking complain about this because if I'm gonna complain about like Leia Poppins, I'm gonna complain about this because it's just as stupid here. I'm not gonna excuse it because it's X-Men. I'm not gonna excuse it because it wasn't Rian Johnson. No, this is just as fucking dumb. So they go up there. The Phoenix Force is there. It's a big blob. And it's caused the spaceship to get fucked up. A bunch of dumb things happen. Okay, so they're in outer space. So, like, they need to shoot the shuttle at such an angle that they can stop it from, like, spinning so so Nightcrawler can get on there. So they go into this, like, Cyclops goes in this lower hatch of the Blackbird, and he looks into an eye visor thing and enables him to shoot his optic blast at, like, the back of the ship and hit it. And it goes outside of the Blackbird and hits the thing. Okay. That's kind of cool. I see what you did there. We want the X-Men to use their powers, but they're in a ship and they're in space. Okay. I guess that's kind of neat, but couldn't you have just installed lasers on the goddamn Blackbird? Or missiles? Or guns? Like the actual Blackbird actually has. You don't have to have everything having to do with mutant powers, right? You know that. You know, sometimes it is impractical. So then, like they're venting air. So like Storm is like holding the air in with her powers. I don't even know how that frickin' works. It's like there's no. I guess she's controlling the air and keeping it in, which I guess. But like there's no. Okay, so this is where. Remember when I bitched in like Captain Marvel about the Lightspeed engine? I'm gonna do that here too. I'm gonna go full science nerd on you guys. I don't care. There's no atmosphere. Even if they're the uppermost of our atmosphere, there's like a particle of air here. There's a particle of air there. There's vacuum. It's actually very unclear of where the end of our atmosphere actually is, because at the very uttermost tips, there's not enough gravity to hold things in. So you'll have like a little molecule of oxygen just like float this way, and there's just a bunch of empty space in between. So it's technically still part of the atmosphere because it's still particles from our atmosphere, and it still does sometimes come back, but it's basically like the fizz on the top of your soda coming off. It's like there's basically no air up there. You're basically dealing with vacuum. So like what weather are you manipulating up there? It seems like a real stretch. So then Quicksilver barely gets fucking used in this damn movie. They use him for like this scene and that's it. Like Nightcrawler teleports over to the space shuttle. And Quicksilver grabs everybody and they teleport back. But there's one guy who's like in the airlock or something like that, so they need him to go back for him. And apparently Jean can't just use her powers; like she has to be inside the damn thing in order to hold it in one spot, for no reason. Like she needs to do that, and like when we've seen in other movies, she's perfectly capable of just holding. I can see it, and she could just hold it in place. So why does she need to be over there? Because the plot needs to happen. So okay, but the problem is, I think the other guy, he's like doing EVA stuff. The other, like the guy that they need to rescue, is like outside the ship. Oh, and they don't have any fucking spacesuits. So Quicksilver rapidly, I think, taking the helmet of one of the other astronauts, like super speed, duct tapes a helmet onto fucking Nightcrawler's head. Mind you, they're wearing their X-Men uniforms, which are made of goddamn cloth. And his tail is completely unshielded. And he teleports over there into the vacuum of goddamn space and rescues the guy. Unharmed whatsoever. Later on, when Jean gets hit with the frickin' Phoenix Force and she's stuck in outer space, he teleports into fucking goddamn space and pulls her back. No harmful effects. Look, listen to me. If I'm going to complain about Leia Poppins, I'm going to complain about this. Nightcrawler does not have superhuman stamina. Nightcrawler cannot survive the vacuum of space. That is not a power he has ever had. And you can't know. It doesn't fucking work that way. You can't know. Like, maybe in the video game MDK2 Armageddon, which you should play for PlayStation 2, it's a really good game. Yeah, the Doctor gets, like, he puts a fishbowl on his head and he survives in outer space. Oh, he's got little magnets on his feet, so he doesn't, yeah, it's cute. It's a cartoony game. That's fine. It doesn't take itself very seriously. This does. Okay? Like, he's not wearing an EVA suit. He's not wearing a space suit. You need to be fully pressurized. His tail is completely unsheathed. That cloth is not strong enough to actually, like, hold in air and hold in pressure. Meaning, there is no, when he teleports out there, he experiences no pressure, and every single cell in his body should explode. And the oxygen should violently and painfully burst out of his chest. Nightcrawler is dead. Nightcrawler should be dead. Not to mention the fact that he's in sub-zero conditions and should be instantaneously frozen and also exposed to cosmic lethal radiation. So he should freeze and fry at the same time. Nightcrawler is dead. But no, I guess the Force, so Nightcrawler's fine. So that happens. This bothered me in X-Men Apocalypse. I like X-Men Apocalypse against my better judgment. But again, I ain't gonna offend it. I like X-Men Apocalypse because I just really love Apocalypse. He's one of my favorite villains, and it's really great to see him. And I will follow Oscar Isaacs anywhere. You didn't deserve what you went through in The Last Jedi, Oscar. You're right, it was treason. He's so dreamy. He's got just a beautiful face. I love Oscar Isaacs, man. It's just like, I don't know what it is. I'll defend this man, regardless of how stupid some movies he is in. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Something I noticed about X-Men Apocalypse is like, okay. So, I saw X-Men Apocalypse while I was in the Navy, while I was in Great Lakes, which is the worst place to be in the Navy. But one of the good things about that was, as a naval personnel, we got to see it early. We got to see it a day before it came out for everybody else. So we all got to see the movie, and man, oh man, those sailors freaking love that movie. We fucking love that movie. Like, when Spider-Man, Spider-Man showed up, like, everyone's like, yeah. When Giant Man, when Paul Rudd goes Giant Man, when Ant-Man goes Giant Man, everyone's like, whoa! Just everyone in the audience was fucking loving it. And it was great. And then a couple months later, X-Men Apocalypse came out, which I also saw there. What bothers me is that how come the Avengers fighting each other over what to do about Bucky is so much more intense and so much more interesting and so much more frenetic and awesome and has interesting fight choreography than the X-Men fighting their greatest villain. Because in X-Men, seriously, you got people trading off, you got Spider-Man taking on Captain America and, like, them quipping with each other, and then he fights a Falcon, and then, like, Vision shows up, and Black Widow and Hawkeye are, like, we still friends, and, like, I'll see you next week. You know, like, it's just interesting fucking fighting. Freaking, just Black Panther squaring off against Winter Soldier, just, like, interesting fucking cool shit happening over what to do about Bucky. That's it. That's the whole entire freaking conflict right there. And yet, the X-Men are fighting Apocalypse, Ensabah Nur, the rocks on the Eternal Shore. You know, just the first and greatest mutant of all time. Look upon the future and tremble. And it's the most boring fucking thing ever, because it's like, just keep shooting him! Zap! Magneto, zap with the metal, and freaking, like, Jean is just zapping him with the Phoenix. I'll get into that. And Apocalypse is just sitting there with a force field, and it goes on forever. And I've noticed that, like, I think starting with this movie, they started doing this shit, where they focus way too long on the powers, and they stretch out, like, the action of just someone blasting someone, and someone showing off the special effects of their power for, like, 5 fucking minutes straight. And it's terrible, and it's really, really bad. And it's like, it's problematic. And it's like, and again, I like Apocalypse for what it is, but again, I ain't gonna defend it. And that was one of my problems. It was like, it's like that fight was boring, and it shouldn't be boring. Like, I don't know Bryan Singer. Maybe if Apocalypse were to grow giant in real life, it would have been more interesting instead of Justin Xavier's head. If he isn't clear, I have an axe to grind. But yeah, I mean, and they keep doing this in this movie. They stretch out long sequences of the powers, long sequences of the special effects, long sequences of emotion, and we're supposed to feel something, and we don't, and it's boring. She gets absorbed. The Phoenix goes into her, and it absorbs inside of her, and we go from there. All right, so I'm gonna echo again. I'm ranting. I'm gonna echo what a lot of other people have said. Jeremy from Geeks of Gamers, shout out at Jeremy, you rock. Phantom Menace, keep it up. He already pointed this out. He's right. We don't care about these characters. We haven't really gotten to know them. We haven't really connected with them. We haven't connected with Jean. We don't know why we should care about Jean. We don't know why Jean should be considered special. And it's because of the stupid 10-year gap shit they keep doing. And really, like, this team of X-Men in particular, we haven't really gotten to know, except they appeared in Apocalypse, and that's it. We haven't really gotten to know Cyclops. We haven't really gotten to know Jean. We haven't really gotten to know Storm or Nightcrawler or anything. Not these incarnations. We know Mystique, we know Magneto, we know Xavier, and we know Beast. That's about it. But like, yeah. So it like that's problematic. Another issue is like, and again, other Josh was complaining about this too, and it was like I don't think he's seen it yet. I don't think he's seen it, but he was bitching about it, and it happens. So as we pointed out, little baby Jean Grey kills her mom, at least in the past. And this echoes X-Men 3: The Last Stand, where the Phoenix wasn't an alien. It was another personality inside of Jean. Well, we're doing both now. She's both like had trouble controlling her powers and would freak out and like would develop this malevolent personality, and at the same time there's also an alien entity possessing her. We're doing both because that's not retarded. That's not fucking stupid. Things are just the first chunk of the movie is really bad. It's really bad. It gets, and again, like the train scene at the end gets better, but it's really clunky, and like they're like I think they're trying to build this idea that Xavier's arrogant at this point, that he's loving the attention and people like there's a lot of bullshit with that, and that leads into my next portion, my next axe to grind with this movie, which is Jennifer Lawrence. I am, to quote Mike Scalcasa, I am so sick and tired of Jennifer Lawrence's dumb face. This movie makes me want to watch Mother again and just highlight the scenes where she's particularly stressed out. Look, okay, Jennifer Lawrence is a very talented actress, and I have enjoyed her in many things. I really liked her in Passengers. I really liked her in X-Men First Class and X-Men Days of Future Past. She was passable in Apocalypse. I don't think she was like, she was good enough in Apocalypse. Apocalypse, she started to annoy me. She started to annoy me a little bit, but she still, I don't know, she was still just doing generic hero stuff in that thing, and that was all right. But I'm kind of done with her, and apparently so is she. She's done with Mystique, which was the best part of the movie, as I pointed out earlier. But so it started echoing. Speaking of X-Men: The Last Stand, it starts echoing X-Men: The Last Stand. One of the worst things for me in X-Men: The Last Stand, which looks like a breath of fresh air compared to this now, was like the needless arguing between Storm and Wolverine. Like Storm is all like especially that first scene in the Danger Room in X-Men 3. Storm's all bitchy. It's like I was trying to teach them to work as a team, Logan. And it's like they did work as a team. They totally fastball like Wolverine and Colossus threw Wolverine to cut the sentence. That's teamwork. They were working as a team. It's almost like, no, you know what I mean. No, I don't. Storm. No, Ororo. Is that how you say it? Ro. I don't know what you mean. Why are you complaining? It's same shit, like, okay, so, like, Mystique is just kind of needlessly bitchy, like, early in this movie. It's like, we're taking risks and risks. Why? Why for humans? And just kind of, and again, this is a problem, too, is, like, you know, rule of drama is you show, don't tell. Show we're taking more risks. Don't just tell us we're taking more risks. That's like, sometimes you have no choice. Sometimes you have no choice but to narrate. But you should always avoid it. You should always demonstrate, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you should, and again, this is one of those things, this problem with this freaking time jumping. We should see the X-Men have had trouble and have had to. We should see like a mission, like a really good example. Okay, J.J. Abrams, you don't deserve any fucking credit, but I'll give you some, bro. I'll give you some because you have done movies I like. Star Trek Beyond, not Star Trek Beyond. No, wait. Star Trek Into Darkness. Star Trek Into Darkness. The initial mission that Kirk and the Enterprise crew is on in Star Trek Into Darkness is great, where they're trying to save a primitive species from being wiped out by a volcano, and they're trying to do it without violating the Prime Directive, but they wind up violating the Prime Directive. But that's a great scene because that shows them doing their thing. That shows them being explorers and also trying to be heroes and helping people. Yeah, that's a wonderful scene. That is an absolutely wonderful scene. Star Trek Beyond. Let's go to the next one. Yeah, the diplomatic mission with the little goblin aliens that are all freaking out. It's like that's... And that winds up tying into the plot later on. That's an excellent scene. I'm still not forgiving you, JJ, for calling me sexist or racist for not liking your boy Ryan Johnson. I don't... Yeah, shame on you. Shame on you. You have done good movies, Ryan. Fuck you, Ryan. Ryan, go eat a dick, Ryan. But no, JJ, you have done good shit. You have done good shit. Don't be fucking throwing that bullshit at me. Stop. Yeah, no, you don't have to shill for the company, JJ. You can say nothing. You can say nothing and stay out of it. Like Doug Jones. Doug Jones is a good guy. Doug Jones is a Mitch. Great guy, fine actor. I was watching Hellboy recently. I'm rambling. I'm so fucking rambling. Whatever. My point being, you do a little scene to show what our heroes normally do, and that shows that shows them in the day in the life of what they regularly do. That's a really good technique, and I think they were trying to do that with the space mission, but the problem is the space mission is what gets the plot rolling, so that doesn't work. They need something else, like maybe fighting a villain we haven't seen in a while, something like that, That would have been interesting. Like, maybe fighting with Juggernaut. Maybe that's how Juggernaut wind up in jail in Deadpool 2. I don't know. You guys claim to want to have a cinematic universe, and yet. Whatever. So she's super bitchy in this movie, and she's just kind of, like, needlessly conflicting with people, and she comes across as really, really annoying. And she comes across as not Mystique. And I think this is something that, like, I think, like, her journey in these movies up into Apocalypse was fine, where it was like kind of, this is the road not taken, whereas like the original timeline was more accurate to the Mystique of the comics, where this is a hardened warrior who's very much believes in Magneto's dream and is just like, and like it's very similar to the comics, whereas like Mystique in the comics will gravitate towards the X-Men, not necessarily because she believes in Xavier's dream, but because it's about family. To quote Carrie Fisher, to paraphrase Carrie Fisher, it's because Nightcrawler's there, it's because Rogue's there, and she cares about them, and so she'll give it a chance. And sometimes a little, her and Magneto sometimes occasionally think that, well, maybe they're right, maybe Charles is right, and that works. That works very, very well. I've never felt that way with this incarnation of Mystique, because this incarnation of Mystique is deliberately, it feels like a different character in many regards. It's like, and it's not anything wrong with that per se. Again, I think Jennifer Lawrence did an excellent job in First Class, Days of Future Past, and Apocalypse. Apocalypse was one of the weaker. Apocalypse was weaker in general across the board. So it's like, I don't want to like throw the blame on her per se in that, but it's like it's just kind of weaker across the board. But Mystique's journey is weird of where she was a hero initially and then joined Magneto fully and kind of becomes like an assassin essentially and becomes kind of this rogue entity in Days of Future Past, almost kills the president in Days of Future Past, and then eventually becomes kind of like she's kind of like this lone wolf. She's very much, it feels like they're kind of echoing what they did with Wolverine. It's like she's kind of on her own. But like it's weird because it feels like they're trying to make her like hero lady. And stalwart hero lady, and that's not really what Mystique's deal is, especially given the way she's talking. Why should we save humans? I don't know. That's your dream, Charles. Oh, so let them die? Is that the alternative? That's heroic. Which, again, Mystique doesn't necessarily need to do that. Mystique is not really a hero. Mystique's an anti-hero, very much. That's part of what makes her compelling. She'll do the right... Yeah, at the end of the day, she'll do the right thing, like... you gotta twist her arm to get her to do the right thing. It's not like... Or you gotta appeal to the person on the inside. You gotta appeal to, like, the people that, she genuinely cares about Rogue. She genuinely cares about Nightcrawler. She genuinely wants them to be okay. And she genuinely feels that, she has good reason not to trust humans. She has good reason to be the hard woman that she is. So you've really got to. She's not evil either. She's complex, and that's what makes Mystique a very compelling character. This we're kind of like going full on hero, and this movie already it's only been 20 minutes. Already has like a million fucking problems with it, and then the infamous ex-women scene comes, and like yeah. So look. That was completely... all I can say to that is, like, okay, yeah, I know, SJW bullshit, Captain Marvel crap. Yes, fine. But, like, fair enough. But all I can say to that scene is it's completely uncalled for. It's like, where did this come from? Again, I would buy it if we'd actually seen, like, maybe the men... Like, if we'd seen another mission where the men sucked, where the men were like Storm and Jean and like Mystique had to bail everybody out. Yeah, that's fine. We don't have any proof of this. She's just being bitchy. She's being She's being shitty. It's like we should call this the ex-women. And the only reason it's there is to court the SJW crowd. Is to court is to the extreme politics. Is like and again sorry, stopping the movie review for a minute. Again, liberals, progressives, my fucking party. Stop. Stop appealing to the absolute worst of us. Stop appealing to the angriest and stupidest people that we possibly can. That does not help anything. That does not further any cause. That doesn't make things better for women. It doesn't make things better for minority. It doesn't make things better for everybody. It makes us out to be assholes, and everybody who thinks who's an asshole, you know what they're going to do? They're going to vote for Trump in the next election because you do shit like that. Stop it. Stop it. You don't need to. Just let the man fucking tweet and make a damn fool of himself. He'll fucking, dig his own grave. He already is. Anyway, sorry for that editorial, but it's just, yeah, it don't need to be there. It is cringeworthy. It's the one scene in the movie. It's not like a smorgasbord of SJW shit. So it's just the one scene, but it's bad. But again, by this point, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, okay, just add that to the pile. Add that to the pile of things that annoy me. It's like, there's another scene. Okay, so the scene where we have Dazzler. Storm has to, Jean asks Cyclops to get their drinks refreshed by Storm, and Storm creates the ice cubes and the thing, and it just bothered me. And it's like, that was cool when Iceman did that, but it's just like, I don't know. It just feels like, because Storm it's the weather. It's like, really, you're gonna start using Storm to make ice cubes? Really? I get it. I get, oh, it's raining outside. We're gonna have a pool party. Not a problem, guys. I got you covered. Sunny days here. That's a good use of Storm's powers. Whatever. Nitpick. So then the aliens show up. Yes, there are aliens in this movie. I hate the aliens. I hate them. They suck. So first of all, we have this terrible scene where there's a dinner party going on, and a dog is barking constantly. Which, thank you, movie. That's what I needed, is a dog constantly fucking barking. That was nice and annoying. Now, I know why there's a dog barking, and you should know too. It's because there's aliens, and it's a trope. It's like we use dogs to Spock the T-100 model cyborgs. Dogs and animals don't like werewolves or aliens or robots or anything evil that's going to come and hurt our... I get it. It's... Actually, you know what? All the more reason not to include it. It's fucking tired. It's been done. It's been done in better films. It's done better in American Werewolf in London. It's done better in Terminator. It didn't need to be here. So this horrible, this woman, this blonde woman, who is the worst actress in the entire fucking movie, and I don't know, she might be better in something else. For all I know, it's the direction. Yeah, thanks, Simon Kinberg. For all I know, that's the problem. But she's fucking terrible in this movie. This woman, I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna steal another thing from Red Letter Media. That I'm gonna call her Work for Scale Woman. Work for Scale Woman from The Mummy. It's not the same actress, but she might as well be. She goes outside, gets killed by an alien, and the alien takes her form and comes in. Okay, so I was ready for this, because Josh pointed this out to me, that, they're not the Shi'ar. There's just aliens. This is another problem with the movie, is that there are aliens because there were aliens in the first one. There's no context. There's no context to why there's aliens. They're not the Shi'ar. They're not the bird people. There's no D'Ken. There's no Lalandra. There's no Deathbird even. There's no Shi'ar Imperial Guard. There's no gladiators. Nothing interesting or things that people would want to see. No, they're just aliens. But... that's the thing. They don't come across like the Shi'ar, but they do come across like something else. They come across like Skrulls. They're fucking Skrulls. And this was made before the buyout. This was made before Disney bought them. So, but they shapeshift. they shapeshift and change form. We later in the movie, in the action scene that I liked, we see them get hurt, and when you like when they die, they reveal their real form, and they're big burly monsters that are green. And the makeup looks, well, I think it's CGI, but it looks kind of like the Skrulls from Captain Marvel. They're fucking Skrulls! They're kind of like Super Skrulls, I guess, because they got super strength and they're resistant to bullets. So, like, you can kill them with a gun, but you gotta shoot them a lot. They can like, and they kind of stupidly, like, take getting shot. They don't try to dodge. They just kind of, like, and just, like, take it, like, with super stamina. But, and they can kind of heal. So they're kind of like Super Skrulls, I guess. But on top of that, they stay mostly in a human form throughout the entire movie. And they're basically the Hellfire Club. And that's why they're led by a blonde woman, because get it, Emma Frost, even though we've done Emma Frost twice already in this fucked up continuity, and we fucked it up every time before, so we have to do it this way. And they have a little mansion that they hide out in, and they wear suits. They're the Hellfire Club. So they're the Shi'ar, the Skrulls, and the Hellfire Club rolled into one, and they're just generic aliens. And their deal, okay, and so the lead actress is the most, again, this might be, I might be being too mean. This might be the direction. But he has no emotion. She reminds me of the evil woman from the second Silent Hill movie. Claudia. She reminds me of Claudia from the second Silent Hill movie, where she's just emotionless. And, like, I'm what Christabella should have been, but I'm not. And it's just like, and it's just, I'm basically the same character. And like, Claudia Wolf was her name. It's like, she reminds me of that. She's emotionless and evil for no good reason. She doesn't emote at all. She's just kind of neutral. But she's also cacklingly evil. It's like, oh, your language is so hard to understand when you're screaming. She winds up killing Jean's dad later. And it's dumb. And like, okay. So, but like, their deal is the Phoenix Force hit their planet and destroyed it. And in this continuity, the Phoenix Force is actually the source of all life in the universe, which is fucking stupid. So again, it's like, all right, okay. So again, they're combining shit and in a dumb way, because, all right, in the actual Dark Phoenix saga, Jean, one of the first things Jean did when she went Dark Phoenix was she flew into outer space. She went to some alien system and she ate their sun. And there was an inhabited system with billions of sentient alien life forms on it, which she all murdered. So the Shi'ar show up, and it's like, okay, Charles, Jean's got to die. Because we don't want that happening to our system, and this is a threat. This is a threat to the entirety. This is a threat to the entire known universe. I've already talked it over with the Skrulls and the Supreme Intelligence. I've already talked it with Suprema. He agrees. She's got to go. We're taking care of this. And that's the reason why they've already seen one alien system die to this thing, and they don't want it to happen again. So it's echoing the original Dark Phoenix saga. The Skrulls, their homeworld was destroyed by Galactus in regular continuity, and we're not sure in the MCU. It might be Galactus. It might be the Kree did it. We don't know. Their homeworld was destroyed by something, and they're on the run, but we don't know by what. So, but yeah. So they're the fucking Skrulls. And evil work for Scale Lady's mission is she wants to harness the power of the Phoenix Force for themselves, so they can rebuild their race on Earth. Which is a brilliant plan. Go find this thing that can destroy planets, and try to harness it. That would never go wrong. The real problem, I think, with my real problem with this character is that she's such a lame villain. The acting's terrible, the directing's bad, she's emotionless and dead weight, and she's the least interesting villain I've seen in an X-Men movie, and that includes Rusty Collins from Deadpool 2. One of my big problems with Deadpool 2 was Rusty Collins. My problem was that little fat kid. That little fat kid is... We could have had a better version of Apocalypse, or we could have had Mr. Sinister, but no, we've got this dumb kid who is a little angsty. He's the reason why Cable's family died in the future. It's fucking retarded. This woman's worse. This woman is literally worse, and she's completely uninteresting. And I'm sorry, the villain of a Dark Phoenix saga should be the Dark Phoenix. It should be the Phoenix Force itself, and Jean is struggling to fight against it, but it's using her to do evil. That should be the villain. It shouldn't be Magneto, although I'm happy to see him. It shouldn't be like the Shi'ar should be major villains because they're antagonists. They're trying to stop it, but the real villain is the Dark Phoenix itself. Now, bonus points if you somehow did a really awesome crossover with DC and had also Darkseid in there, like Teen Titans X-Men, which if you haven't read that crossover, you should. It's fucking awesome, and it's great. It's the X-Men teamed up with the Teen Titans to take on Deathstroke the Terminator, Darkseid, and who resurrected the Dark Phoenix. It's fucking awesome. It's great. Fucking awesome. Just Teen Titans X-Men. Teen Titans X-Men for the win. Like, okay, Starfire hears Colossus speaking in Russian, and she starts making out with him because she learns languages by making out with people, and which causes Nightcrawler to immediately start speaking German. Achtung, sprechen Sie Deutsch? It's like, it's like, ooh, I want some of that. It's like, it's wonderful, freaking great. The aliens suck. They're bad. Except for one point, which I'll get to. Okay, so then we discover that, as we remember in X-Men 3, Xavier tampered with her mind back in the day, and that was a huge faux pas, which I had a problem with in X-Men 3. If X-Men 3 did something right, it's that you can explore the idea of the dark side of Xavier. Xavier has done a lot of fucked up things in regular continuity for his X-Men and for his dream. He has he took the Shi'ar training program Danger in order to make his Danger Room, and deliberately put safeguards in it so that it wouldn't follow its normal objective of trying to of legitimately killing the person who was using the training program. He always had it hold back at the last second, knowing full well that it's a sentient AI and it wants nothing more than its life to achieve its objective, which would be to kill its target. And it was forcibly denied that over and over again to protect his X-Men because he needed his X-Men trained. And this wound up resulting the creature, the Danger Room, gaining sentience and becoming a killer robot called Danger later on that almost killed the team. And that's all on Xavier's hands. That's all Xavier's fault. Charles Xavier created a team of X-Men for the sole purpose of rescuing the original X-Men from the island of Krakoa. And this was before the giant-sized team. And it included Evolution Man, who we saw in X-Men First Class, and many other X-Men characters that he trained and, trained them in their dreams, like, so they would be, to get them ready sooner before they were really, really ready. And he basically sacrificed this team of X-Men to rescue his original team of X-Men. He basically set a bunch of kids to die in order to get back his original team of X-Men, because those original X-Men were his kids, and he wanted them back, and he needed them back. But he sent a bunch of other kids. He knew a bunch of other kids would probably die in that mission because of that, and that was really fucked up. And one of those people was Cyclops' younger brother, Vulcan, and he knew that was his younger brother, and did not tell him. And yeah, Xavier has been riding around with a handgun in that little floating chair of his this entire time, just in case something takes over his mind. And so when Cassandra Nova does try to take over his mind, he pulls that gun out and is ready to blow his brains off. And he was ready to do that this entire time because he knows how dangerous his mind would be as a weapon. And what would happen if some evil force took it over. And that harkens all the way back to after he's died. After he's died in Uncanny Avengers, when the Red Skull gets Xavier's brain and grafts it to his own and gains his powers. And causes a racist riot in New York City, causing random people just to start killing each other. Killing people that they think are mutants or might be mutants, and all in racist violence and intolerance, all while drinking wine. When you see a horrible person like the Red Skull using Xavier's abilities to satisfy his own selfish, horrible goals, it makes you appreciate how much of a good person Xavier is, and make him understand why he would do that, why he would have a gun on him the entire time and not tell his X-Men. Because he knows that that's how dangerous and how powerful his power is. And that's why he's loath to use it in an evil way. That appreciation for control. You can do Xavier questionable, with questionable morality. You can go there. You can do that. You can even do it with something minor, like the fact that, oh, he wanted to bone Jean when she first joined the X-Men. I believe she was a teenager back then, like 17, 18 maybe? Yeah, back in the day, the original intention was Xavier was interested in her. I think they like Stan might have been setting up like a possible love interest that, well, maybe, you know, well, he's not that much older than her, so maybe like eventually they'll hook up with he was interested in Jean Grey. Everyone in that freaking school of that original team wanted to bang Jean Grey, including Xavier. And eventually that changed, and you know, he became more of a father figure to her, and you know, they went away from that. But there's ways to handle dark Xavier. This is not the way to do it. We wind up discovering that Xavier has been lying to her this entire time, and her father's really alive, but her father wants nothing to do with her because she killed her mom. And to be fair, you know, she killed her mom. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that, like, I don't know. I would appreciate... I don't feel like this is not a moral quandary that the original incarnation of the character ever had to deal with. And it feels like a betrayal of the character forcing it upon her. And I don't feel like, you know, I don't know. It just, you know, I mean, again, that's part of my problem with this beginning of this movie is it's like you basically establish that Jean Grey killed her mom. And I don't think that's okay. I don't think it's cool to like set up with that character. I don't think the character deserves that. I think it's a misuse. I think it's unpleasant. It doesn't work. But on top of that, apparently her father hated her after that, and so she basically he went into her mind and made her think that her father died in the crash. So she thought her father was dead this entire time. So once she goes full Phoenix, those blocks start eroding, and she winds up remembering that he did this to her. So she freaks out, and she leaves. She goes to see her dad. And she gets pissed at her dad because her dad basically rejected her. And now we'd have to deal with, like, Mystique fucking with... Mystique is basically filling the role of Logan, of Wolverine in the original X-Men 3, where he's giving Xavier the third degree. And basically, it does... that might have been their intention to make Xavier look like an asshole, and I don't think... Again, this bullshit was never in the comics originally. We have done Dark Xavier, and it kind of works in X-Men 3. I kind of like in X-Men 3, it's like sometimes when you cage the Beast, Charles, you know, the Beast gets angry. And like Xavier's, I don't have to justify myself to you. I did what I had to do for Jean. And again, maybe it's just the fact that it's Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart, two monumental actors, like playing off each other. Even with a dumb concept, it works. It works very well. But again, I was never crazy about that scene in the first place. If you want to talk about Xavier doing things like that, there's plenty of room to do that. And there's plenty of other better stories where he did that. It doesn't need to be here. It doesn't need to be he fucked with her mind when she was a kid. It's dumb. So, okay. So what else? I want to speed through this because it's I have bullet points. I have bullet points in my brain of stupid that I need to talk about. Okay. So that happens. She goes to her dad's house, and she's mad at her dad, but she doesn't do anything to her dad. And she hasn't really done anything crazy yet. She's, like, knocked over a bunch of the X-Men kids, when she started freaking out, at a party they were having. And that's it. But the X-Men come, like, and then they have an argument in the street. And, like, and basically... The way we've manifested the Dark Phoenix in this version is it's just people annoying Jean Grey to the point where she gets violent. It's like we can help you, Jean. We can help you. Just like Steve, leave me alone. Just leave me alone. It's like it's almost really like they're turned her into the Hulk to some degree. It doesn't really feel like there's a malevolent force inside of her, manipulating her emotions or having her draw out her darkest inner emotions like it's supposed to be. It feels more like she's just like they're just badgering her and won't leave her alone. She's like, just fuck off and leave me alone. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if like, oh, just fuck off already. If she just like, I don't want to deal, I'm done with it. If she just like did the snap and it's like, I'm done with the X-Men and just walked away, and it was like, what are you gonna do? You gonna arrest me? I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I mean, like, what, like really? It's like, I mean, yeah. So a fight breaks out, and it's not very interesting. It's kind of dumb. There's a couple interesting things that they do, but it's very short and not that much happens. The cops show up for no reason whatsoever. This is important. She attacks the cops and wrecks a bunch of their cars. We don't know if there are any casualties or how severe their injuries are. And then Jennifer Lawrence starts nagging Jean. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna stay by you. Everything's gonna be okay. And she's like, please stop talking to me. Please go away. Please go away. Vadoom. And she impales her on a piece of fence, and I busted out laughing. Okay, so again, you gotta understand, Jennifer Lawrence was so annoying in this movie. She was so unbelievably annoying in this film, and so it's very rare. It's very rare when the movie actually kills off the most annoying character, and it's very fucking satisfying. So I was just happy to see her die. I was like, yes, she's out of the movie now. And it's like, I shouldn't be doing that. This is our hero. This is a character we're supposed to like, and I started literally just like bawling laughing when she died, and ecstatic. It's like, yes, she's gone. One more complaint, since she's out of the movie, there's one thing I forgot. So, apparently, like, her and Beast have rekindled their relationship, maybe, sort of, kind of, because while she's all dealing with, I don't like, this is all about Xavier's dream, this isn't about our dream, she talks about leaving the X-Men with Beast, and I just realized something. It's like, this is her character arc. This is what she does in every single one of these movies. In every single fucking X-Men movie that Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique has been in, she always leaves the X-Men, because that's all she fucking does. All she ever does. First Class, she leaves the X-Men to join Magneto. Days of Future Past, the best out of this quadrilogy, is like she's like, she doesn't want anything to do with them at all, and like, get out of my head, Charles. And like, even when Xavier convinces her not to kill Trask, she just walks away. She walks away and goes rogue. Then she's like, she joins the X-Men at the end of Apocalypse, but throughout the movies, I don't want to be part of your team. I don't want to be here. I don't want to deal with this. I'm doing my own thing. I'm a lone wolf. And now in this movie, it's like, I think we're done. I think we should just move on. All she ever wants to do is leave. And okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, because again, in the comics, like, she's always been a rogue agent in the comics, but it, like, she always comes back too. Like Mystique is one of those characters that bounces back and forth between being a villain, being a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or other enemies of the X-Men, to joining the X-Men and being aligned with them and being caring for them and things like that. Mystique bounces back and forth, left and fucking right. And it's like, and that's who she is. And as the comic book fan, I like that about her. But it's just like, here, it's just like, she's just always like, it's like she's just never satisfied. She's never satisfied with being in this group for reasons I don't understand. So she dies, and I'm happy. And then she goes to an island where Magneto's at, and I think that's supposed to be Genosha, because Magneto has an island called Genosha, so we're just on an island now. And that annoys me, because Genosha has a story. It's a very good story. Genosha is a fictitious, like, country in the Marvel Universe that is run... It's like, we're not sure where it is exactly. It might be in South America. It might be like in the Mediterranean. We're not quite clear. Maybe like Northern Africa or something like that. But it's full of a bunch of people who are racist and hate mutants. And for years, they would capture mutants and enslave them with those neck collars that nullify their powers and force them to work as slaves. And they also funded the Sentinel program and produced tons and tons of Sentinels. And eventually, Magneto took them the fuck over, and from then on, it became a mutant paradise until Cassandra Nova blew it up, and I think it got rebuilt at some point or another or whatnot, and like, it was in rubble, it was in ruins during, like, the house, like, when Magneto had Scarlet Witch in House of M and Son of M, but it's like, we've gone back and forward on that multiple times. But that's Genosha's story, and Genosha has a really, really good story. There's just an island where there's a bunch of mutants, or people that we're led to believe are mutants, are farming, and Magneto's there. And Magneto flies without the aid of his costume or any pieces of metal, again. Yeah, we finally got here, I guess, Brian. Anyway. And I'm not sure what she's asking, if, like, she wants him to kill her, or, like, she wants him to take care of him, and then the army shows up. So the army shows up, and Magneto's trying to say, like you're not supposed to be here. We, like, apparently Genosha was given to Magneto so they'd have a place. And the soldier's like, look, I'm not here for you. I'm here for Jean Grey because... Alright, so the government's looking for Jean Grey because she attacked about 4 or 5 cop cars, and killed a blue woman that, if there is still racism against mutants, no one should give a fuck about. A woman, I might add, who was once a mutant terrorist and an assassin who almost killed the president. Yes, she helped defeat Apocalypse, but yeah, she also did that shit. So I don't understand like why the government cares. In every X-Men movie we have seen tons of mutant characters do way more, like literally like Wolverine in The Wolverine did more stuff to warrant an international incident than in this movie. Wolverine like got into an open fight with a bunch of yakuza in the middle of a funeral for a funeral of a prominent Japanese industrialist, and then wind up going to war with that same industrialist's empire, ninja clan, and wound up having a big explosive fight at a factory. And the government's like wasn't like hunting him down instantaneously. Pyro did more to the cops in X-Men 2. We've never. She's literally we don't even know if she killed anybody. As far as we know at this point in the series, she's killed 3 people. She's killed her mom, she killed Apocalypse, which I guess doesn't count because he's a baddie, and she's killed Mystique, which is a favor to the audience. Like, how is she a threat here? How is she, like, warning... I could understand if there was, like, a mutant task force, like, you know, cops with maybe mutant members that... Or human and mutant members meant to deal with mutant crimes, like, maybe like we did in X-Men once, that had X-Men members on it, meant to go after her, but it's like... Apparently, the cops, the soldiers have got to go investigate this, and she winds up. We have this weird scene where she starts like causing she fucks with one of the helicopters and smashes it, you know, and then she winds up fucking with another helicopter, and Magneto's fighting her. It's basically It's basically Michael Fassbender and Sophie Turner just like doing this, like they have to take a shit. Like at a helicopter for like 5 to 7 minutes, and with you know and Michael Fassbender must have been constipated because he was going like ah, and it's like, what am I even looking at? And he's like, get on the helicopter. He's telling a bunch of soldiers to get on the helicopter that a crazy mutant is already controlling and is going to go God knows what with. And this whole thing causes the government to hate mutants, and now they won't take Xavier's calls anymore. The president won't take Xavier's calls, and they're thinking about mutant registration camps and a bunch of bullshit, all because a couple of cops got hurt and a blue woman no one should give a shit about got wounded, and one helicopter was destroyed. Literally, so much worse shit has happened on behalf of mutants in this series. So then she goes to a bar, and she's using her mind powers to make herself look like an old man, which is kind of a cool idea, but it's also kind of unclear as to what's going on. That's my problem with it. So, and then there's, then Alien Woman shows up, and Alien Woman, is like, I can show you a better way, and she convinces her to go join her, and she explains all the alien backstory shit, and starts trying to tempt her to this. So, what happens is, Beast winds up going to Magneto, and joins Magneto, because Magneto was unaware that she killed, Mystique. So Magneto hears that, is like, she killed Mystique, I'm gonna fuck her up. I'm gonna kill Jean. And Beast is like, you know, when I find her, I'm gonna kill her, and Beast is like, I know. And, okay, so I want to talk about something good here. Again, there's a scene, when Mystique dies, where James McAbee gets some wine and sits down with Beast and tries to talk about how, you know, they try to you know, mourn Mystique. Oh, the funeral sucks, by the way. The funeral is so, like, no one cares. No one gives a fucking shit. And the very fact that Jennifer Lawrence, like, died in this movie tells me she is done. She is done. She doesn't want to do with it. She don't want to be Mystique no more. She wants to move on, and I can't fucking blame her. I cannot fucking blame her. Like, the very fact that, like, yeah, a lot of people already commented that she was phoning in her performance. She didn't want to be there. I could tell she didn't want to be there. Yeah, definitely. But, like, there's a really good scene with there's a couple really good performances in this movie. And one of them was James McAbee and Hutt. Nathan Hutt, I think is his name. The guy that plays Beast. Where they're sitting at a table, and Xavier's got a bottle of wine. He sits over and like he's trying to talk about the good times with Mystique, with Beast, and talking about how he first met her. You know, she's a little girl. She was hungry and told she'd never want again. And like and he's trying to, like, comfort him. And Beast is not having it. Beast's not having it. You did hurt her. You did her. You should. Beast like just basically tells him, "You fucked up. You fucked up. You hurt her," and he like smashes the bottle. And I could just tell, like from an acting standpoint, it's a beautiful scene. I don't even know if this was scripted or not. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like they just sat down and what would our characters be feeling at this point in time, and it's a beautiful scene. And again, the reason we're here is dumb. The reason for this conflict is dumb, and I don't like it. But in the context of the scene, it works very, very well. Beast just asked, like, just admit you were wrong. Just admit you were wrong, Charles. Admit you made a mistake, and he won't do it. And it kind of works. I kind of liked it. So anyway, Beast joins Magneto. Magneto's Brotherhood consists of 2 no-name mutants I don't recognize. Don't tell me who they are. I don't care. There's some dude with dreadlocks. It's a Samoan dude with dreadlocks. And his mutant power is he has dreadlocks. And he can whip your ass with dreadlocks. And that's his mutant power, and it's fucking retarded. I'm guessing that might be Omega Red. I certainly fucking hope not. And then there's a lady who might be a psychic. She's got a knife. I don't know what and she does weird things with her eyes. I don't even know what her deal is. Dreadlock guy was kind of cool, and I think if I could understand what that lady's powers were, I might like her. But I had no clue. I didn't know who she was. Anyway, they're gonna go confront Jean. So, they go there, and the X-Men, Xavier's like, I'm not gonna jeopardize I've lost too much, I'm not gonna jeopardize my X-Men for this anymore. But, Storm, again, there's another, I think it's a really good scene where, Xavier and Cyclops are like, we're gonna go get Jean, because we care about Jean. And Storm is like, I'm coming with you. And Nightcrawler's like, yeah, I'm coming with you too. And it's like, I'm not teaching you as an X-Men. I'm not gonna put your lives in danger anymore. I'm doing that. And it's like, well, I'm not talking to you as my leader. I'm going. It's Jean. I care about her. Good scene. I like this new I like this new girl of Storm. I think I really liked her in X-Men Apocalypse. I still like her here. She didn't really get much to do in this movie, which annoys me, but I still like her. And I thought that was a nice scene. So then they confront each other in New York City in front of the Hellfire Club's mansion. The dialogue was fine. And that was fine. And then Magneto and Beast run across the street, a crowded street, and Xavier even comments, "We're gonna do this. We're gonna fight." You know, it's like they don't. They're not like we're not. She's not in control. I'm not gonna let you kill Jean. And Magneto's like, I don't care. I'm killing Jean. She killed Mystique. She killed your sister. She killed the woman I love. I'm killing her ass. Fuck you. And it's like, you're really gonna make me do this? We're really gonna fight in the middle of the street like animals? That's what you'll lose your island. All this. They'll jeopardize everything that we stand for. So, here's what I found interesting. And once again, if I'm going to criticize Superman and Man of Steel, if I'm going to criticize Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi, well then I'm sorry. The X-Men don't get a fucking pass here. I'm going to criticize this scene. Xavier talked about we shouldn't be fighting in front of civilians. There's a crowded street full of cars, full of civilians, who know nothing about what's going on, minding their own fucking business, including a bus full of kids. And all Beast and Magneto do is jump and fly across the street to go kill Jean in this building. And what do the X-Men do? They immediately attack. They immediately engage in a street fight, endangering tons of innocent lives, to stop them from killing a person who is dangerous and has already killed a member of their team. Nobody gets hurt that we see, but they do a fuck ton of property damage. They jack up a bunch of cars, and they could have killed a bunch of people. And I'm sorry. Yeah, the Avengers reacted to Loki and the Chitauri attacking New York City and did everything they could to save people, regardless of how much they beat themselves up over the Sokovia Accords and the attack by Crossbones in Captain America Civil War. The fact of the matter is, in Sokovia, Captain America's like we're not choosing between the people of Sokovia and the rest of the world. We're saving all these people. That's what we're doing. Black Natasha, do you understand? Aye, Captain. Let's go. And they did. Quicksilver gave his life in that movie. By the way, Quicksilver's not in this movie at all. After the fucking space scenes, fucking stupid. Quicksilver gave his life to save people in Avengers: Age of Ultron. Scarlet Witch was trying to save people from Crossbones blowing himself up in a crowded street and wound up moving him to a place where he still killed people. She did the best she could. She did the best she could. The Avengers literally went back in time to find alternate versions of the Infinity Gems, and then in order to bring back half the known life in the universe and undo the snap that Thanos did at the end of Infinity War. And not only that, like, banded together in an army to rival all of awesomeness. In a moment where the only thing missing was Doctor Who coming out and saying, "Everybody lives, Rose, just this once, everybody lives," to take down Thanos and save the entire freaking universe. They bent over backwards to do that. They bent over the back as heroes. All to save lives. Goku, in Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods, he and the Z-Warriors do everything in their power to save the Earth from being destroyed by Lord Beerus. I don't know. Everything they do. Move the fight outside of the city. Move the fight out there. Move it underground. Move it here. They do everything in their power to save humanity. And that's what a hero is supposed to do. And the X-Men, to save someone who has killed a member of their team, and the story is trying to tell me is even more dangerous than this, they are going to wage a fight that's going to jeopardize the lives of innocent civilians. No, I'm sorry. That's not what heroes do. That's not how the X-Men should act. That was bullshit. Not even Wolverine at his most berserker rage wouldn't make that goddamn mistake. I'm sorry. No. That was bullshit. And it's not even an interesting fight. It's not even really... I mean, they shoot a couple lasers here or there, but all I can think to myself is like, oh my god, of all the civilians that they're jeopardizing. It's like, it's a little bit of action. It's not one of the worst things in the movie. One of the big problems with the movie... Oh, and not to mention Magneto raises up a freaking, like, train from underground, like, to smash the door into the freaking, like, Hellfire Club's base, which, like, was that really necessary? Was that really necessary? You could have knocked the doors off the hinges. One of the problems with the movie is, like, okay, the movie is really dark, needlessly, and moody and depressing. This movie is basically off its meds. But a lot of people have echoed that basically the movie's really, really boring, and they're right. It is. And that's the thing. It's like the movie is mostly just, like angsty for no good reason. For no justification. It's just, it's like, the movie is just, is got severe, it's gone off its bipolar medication, and it's depressed, and it's moody, and it's miserable, and it's an unpleasant place to be at. Okay, so they go in, and they start fighting Jean. Jean, like, okay, Jean's powers are not terribly impressive in this at all. And I'm sorry. Say what you will about The Last Stand. That's a better Dark Phoenix saga. At least I'm legitimately scared of Famke Janssen's Jean Grey. At least I think she's genuinely a threat to the Earth. At least she just casually disintegrates people. At least, like, yeah, she's a force to be reckoned with. It fucking works in that movie. Here, like, her powers are really unspectacular, and, like, all it takes is, like, Xavier, like revealing that he cared about her back in the day to finally convince her that maybe she's been acting wrong. And she asked the alien girl to take her powers. So the alien girl starts absorbing some of her powers, so now she has the powers. And then, the X-Men all get captured by, like, what's called the Mutant Control Unit. Or MCU for short. Fuck you, 20th Century Fox. Fuck you. Bitter much? The MCU is gonna save you. Fuck you. So some of our bad guys here is a bunch of soldiers, anti-mutant soldiers, come in with little neck collars which restrain their powers, the Genoshan neck collars. It's nice, yeah, nice fan service. And they put them in a train. But the aliens start chasing them on the train. And the soldiers are getting jacked up because we're picking on the MCU now. So I kind of like this scene. I kind of like... This fight was fun. The aliens are apparently super strong and super tough and can take a bullet. When they die and you see their true form, they look like really feral Skrulls. And they can kind of heal and have a human form. So the fight on the train is really, really good. They can die to bullets, and the soldiers are able to kill them, but you need to shoot them a bunch of times in order to bring down just one. So, like, but apparently, so they need to release the X-Men. They need to release the X-Men in order to save the day, because apparently a machine gun and an anti-tank cannon isn't enough to stop these things, but a blue guy with limited superhuman strength and a dude whose superpower is he can hit you with his dreadlocks, that'll do it. Okay, whatever. whatever. I'm complaining, but here's the thing. The fight's really good. It's actually a really creative fight scene. There's got really creative uses of their powers. This is everything that the fight with Apocalypse should have been in X-Men Apocalypse, that it wasn't. They get really creative with their powers. They really do all sorts of really cool things. You get to see like some of the mutants, some of the aliens getting gunned down. There's some decent violence there. Magneto does some really dirty stuff. It's actually pretty awesome. Storm gets to zap some people. It's really cool. And then the worst, and then the lady for the woman who will work for Scale shows up, and she's got some of the Dark Phoenix's powers, and again, really lazy, uncreative uses of her powers. I don't feel it. It's just it just feels like bad writing. It's just like, I'm all powerful, you can't do anything to me. That's like it's like that's really, she might as well have just shut up. It's like, you can't do anything. I'm really, really powerful. And it's like oh, okay. It's like that's like she might as well have done that. It was really freaking boring. There's a good scene where Magneto's got a bunch of guns that he's controlling with his powers, and he's shooting her, and that's kind of neat. But then she bitch slaps him, and it's dumb. And then Jean breaks out of the confines, and again, Jean starts fighting, and the train crashes. And okay, I want to point out that like essentially the awesomeness of the train scene ends when Magneto's done shooting the lady with the guns. At that point, it's nothing but shit. The train crashes, and a bunch of the aliens start attacking her and attacking Jean, and Jean starts disintegrating them. But the disintegration she's doing is like, remember how like they just turn to dust in X-Men 3? Yeah, none of that. They take a minute to like explode. It takes really, really slow. They start dragging it out, like I was complaining earlier with X-Men Apocalypse, and it's really bad. And then finally she confronts the lady, and the lady, they're like dueling the Phoenix powers. I think she takes it away from her, but like she basically carries her to outer space and blows her up in space. She might die, but we don't know. They decide to rename the school the Jean Grey Institute, the Jean Grey Institute, which really pissed me off, because in the comics, the reason why it's called the Jean Grey Institute is because Wolverine started up the X-Mansion after there was no longer a Scott or a Cyclops or a Xavier to run it, and he decided to name it after Jean because he's in love with Jean. That's the love of his life. That's why he called her that. This woman, this version of Jean Grey, murdered a friend of yours, so let's just name a school after her. She called the Mystique School of 15 years. It's just it's fan service, and it sucks. And Beast is apparently the new head, and apparently like Xavier is hanging out in Paris with Batman and Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises apparently. And Magneto shows up, and he's got a little suitcase with the chess set in it, because remember they used to play chess. And he invites him back to Genosha to hang out with him. We see a little Phoenix thing in the sky, and the movie gracefully ends, and there's a terrible narration by Sophie Turner. No offense to Sophie Turner. She, again, if I'm being a little too mean to the woman who is the villain in this movie, I'm sorry. Maybe it was just the direction here. But it's it's this terrible narration at the end, talking about how this is not the end of the X-Men. And it's like, yeah, it's not the end of the X-Men. This is not the last X-Men movie. No, there's going to be new X-Men movies done by the MCU, which you guys did a petty joke in the movie for. The MCU is going to bring the X-Men back, and they're going to do good things with them, and we're going to stop with all this stupid bullshit. And, Josh, buddy, you're right. It's just time that this series died. It's like to me, the X-Men movies end with Deadpool 2. The true finale being Logan, and Deadpool 2 is a fun little coda for the end. Again, and all the movies up to this point, I love them. Even the worst of them, even X-Men Origins Wolverine, you know what? It's kind of fun. It's kind of silly. It's wonderful schlock. But this was a bad movie. This was a really bad movie, and I just needed to talk about it. I just need to get this off my chest. And that's the thing. I wasn't angry initially because I kind of knew going in it's bad, but it's just like the more I thought about it, it's like the angrier I got. So it's like, it's really, yeah, I'm sorry. The X-Men deserve better. I cannot believe. I'm actually nostalgic for X-Men 3. And X-Men 3 is literally a better Dark Phoenix saga than a movie whose entire purpose was to redo that story and do it justice. But again, there was no point in making this movie in the first place. The rights have been bought back. It's time for the X-Men to join the MCU. It's time that they come back. And I'm still kind of open to if they still did it where like Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart were here, and like everything up to Deadpool 2 is canon somehow, and we just pretend this one shitty movie didn't happen. Fuck yeah. I don't know how they'd make it make sense. I like Josh and I were talking like I think like that Mysterio might be like from the an alternate universe version of Mysterio, and that what Thanos did weakened the multiverse. I'm down for that, man. I am so fucking down for that. But anyway, Dark Phoenix is it's the hot garbage you thought it would be. It's worse than I thought it would be. I'm calling it right here. This is the worst X-Men movie. Look, X-Men 3: The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and X-Men Apocalypse are deeply flawed films, but they have things about them that are of value. This has a couple things that I can count on one hand, that are worth a damn. Don't see it. Like if you're gonna see it, like wait till you don't have to pay for it. Wait for it comes out on something. It's not just as bad as people say it is. It's worse. I'm surprised. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. I'm still betting good money Rise of Skywalker is going to be the worst of this year, but so far this is my worst of this year. You know what you should watch instead? Go watch Endgame again. Like marathon, like all the MCU. Go all the MCU. Go watch that. That's a better movie than this. You know what you should also watch? You should watch What We Do in the Shadows, both the movie and the television show, which is on right now, which is really great. You should check that out. You should watch the new season of Archer, which is like Archer 1999, I think it's called, where it's Archer in space. Check that out. I haven't actually watched that yet, but I'm meaning to go check it out. You know what you should also watch? You should watch Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is like my third best movie of the year. It's amazing. It's so fucking awesome. It is a comic book. I never thought of all comic book adaptations to get a movie, it would be Batman versus the Ninja Turtles. It's so good. It's so awesome. It's much worth your time than Dark Phoenix. Don't see Dark Phoenix. Hey, go. I hear Hellboy's bad, but I still kind of want to give Hellboy a chance. I love Hellboy. Oh, by the way, one more thing to bitch about. I didn't give a shit about the funeral scene in the Dark Phoenix, and all it made me do was think of the funeral scene in Hellboy and how good the original Hellboy and how good that was, where it's like he's up on the roof and he can't carry his father's sarcophagus because it would freak people out, and he can't do that, and Liz is looking up at him. He's up there, and the rain's pouring down because he's Ron Perlman's Hellboy, and he's too man to cry, but he wants to cry, so the rain's crying for him. In the next scene, he's got his shirt off, he's naked, and he's before Liz Sherman professing his love for her, and it's just so fucking good. It's so fucking good, and Dark Phoenix was so fucking not good. Yeah, like if you want to satisfy your morbid curiosity, all I'm asking is don't pay for it. Don't send anybody the message that this is what we want to see in a movie. Spend your money on something that's worth your time, something better. You know what? Hey, internet, you're gonna get real fucking mad at me for this. You know what you can do instead of this? Go watch Captain Marvel. You fucking heard me. I know I flip-flopped on Captain Marvel. I know I said, oh, it's really, really good. And I know that I turned around and said, it's not that good. Yeah, okay, you know what? I got issues with Captain Marvel. I got issues with Brie Larson. I got issues with her in Infinity War. Not Infinity War, Endgame. I got issues with her in Endgame. I fucking hated her in Endgame. I like her more in her own movie than in Endgame, which is weird. But let me tell you something, brother. Captain Marvel is a better movie. I don't care who you are. It is a better movie than Dark Phoenix. It has story structure. It is better thought out. It is better acted. Everything. There is a lot to like about Captain Marvel. There's the Skrulls are awesome. Talos is awesome. Good old Ben Mendelsohn. Sam Jackson's awesome. Maria Rambeau, her friend, is really awesome. There's like fucking Goose. It's a Lovecraftian critter. The fights are better in freaking Captain Marvel. And say what you will about like light speed engines and all. At least by the time Carol Danvers is flying around in outer space without a spacesuit, she's a nigh unstoppable god, and of course she is. So I don't care at that point. It's like that's fine. She does that in the comics. I'm fine with that. I do have a problem with Nightcrawler doing it with his tail unprotected. That should kill him. And say what you will about Brie Larson being wooden and a miserable person. It's like, you know what? She's better than this whole fucking movie. And the action scene that's in Dark Phoenix that's really good is not worth the price of admission. It is not worth sitting through all the other bullshit. Hey, you know what's a better movie? You know what's a better movie than that? Unicorn Store. Yeah, that movie, that really shitty Brie Larson movie, it's better because it's hilarious. It's hilarious for all the wrong reasons, but it's hilarious. You know what? It is a vacuum for your soul. It just cleans you right up. Go watch Unicorn Store. Don't watch Dark Phoenix. This is the Dread Pirate, and I had to rant to you because I don't know. I love the X-Men, and the X-Men deserve better than this. I'm gonna go lie down. I'm gonna go lie down, or I'm gonna drink some more. I'm gonna drink some wine. I need some wine. I love wine. Wine makes it. Alcohol is the cause and solution to all of life's problems. Don't drink safely, people. Anyway, catch y'all later. You have a good night, folks. Don't see Dark Phoenix.